Do a introduction to Miniscript and Bitcoin script, and one of the best resources for this is this bitcoin.zipper.be/Miniscript site. So on this site there's an introduction explaining what Miniscript is, and then here is the policy to Miniscript compiler. So I'll explain what policy, Miniscript and script is as succinctly as possible. Policy is what the human is most able to easily read and edit, and so this is what the human is going to interact with. The human's going to look at a policy and change it or tweak it depending on the needs of what that human wants, in terms of the constraints the human wants to apply to their Bitcoin, such that the Bitcoin can't be moved unless those constraints are met. Okay, so this is what the human's going to interact with the policy. The policy compiles down to Miniscript. So in this example, the Miniscript is here. It looks very similar to the policy, but as you can see, there's a few added like tags, colons, and things like this. But it looks very similar to the policy. But that's but when you put a policy in there, and you can change this. So you can change this to 3. Press compile, and you'll get the Miniscript output for the policy to Miniscript compiler. And then at the bottom is the script that corresponds to that Miniscript. Okay, so this script has various opcodes in it. A opcode like opchecksig will check that the signature associated with a particular public key is the right signature. The signature is a valid signature for that particular pub key, and so this script is what gets encoded and put on chain. So like the policy and the Miniscript don't ever get put on chain. It's the script that will get put on chain when you tell the blockchain what the script is, and that you're satisfying the conditions of the script to be able to move the Bitcoin. Okay, so policy, Miniscript, script. Policy is the highest level, what the human deals with. Miniscript is the intermediate representation with added tags, and script is what eventually goes on chain. Okay, so let's just play around with the policy aspect, which is what the human can do to produce the Miniscript and the script that they want. There's some examples here. So there's a single pub key. So this is just where the constraint that you want to apply to your Bitcoin is you just want a single signature associated with a public key to be provided, and if that signature is provided, then the Bitcoin can be moved. Slightly more complicated example is this OR between 2 public keys. So essentially here you're saying I want a signature associated with one of these 2 pub keys to be present for the Bitcoin to be moved, but I don't care which one, right? So it can be checking the signature for key 1, or can be checking the signature for key 2, and as long as there's a valid signature for one of those public keys, then the Bitcoin can be moved. You can also say which key you're more likely to use, and then the script that is generated from that policy via Miniscript is slightly different. So here you're saying this public key is more likely to be used than this one, so you put 99 in front of this likely key, and this is the script that it ultimately generates. It just means it's a more efficient script if you know that you're more likely to use a particular key over another one. Then it gets more complicated. Here it says the high-level description is a user and a 2FA service need to sign off, but after 90 days, the user alone is enough. Okay, so you've got this policy where you want it's an and, so the first part of the and is the public key for the user, and you need a signature associated with this public key, otherwise the Bitcoin can't be spent. And then the second part of the and is this or, right? So this or statement also needs to be satisfied, and this or statement says that you either need a signature associated with this public key, key underscore service, or it needs to be older than 12960 blocks. So 12960 blocks need to have passed for you to be able to use that part of the constraint. Okay, so you could have a signature associated with this particular public key and a certain amount of time has passed, or you can use the signature associated with this public key and also this signature associated with this service key. Okay. Last example we'll go through of the examples that are actually on the site is this 3 of 3 that turns into a 2 of 3 after 90 days. So a thresh is a threshold, right? So you only need a subset of the total keys, like a 2 of 3. You only need 2 signatures associated with 2 public keys out of the 3 public keys that are present. And so here you have, it says you need 3 of these 4 conditions to be satisfied. You need a signature associated with key 1, you need a signature associated with key 2, you need a signature associated with key 3, or a certain amount of time has passed, 12960 blocks. And because it's a thresh of these 4 possibilities, you just need to pick 3, right? So you could have a signature from key 1, a signature from key 2, and 12960 blocks have passed. Or perhaps you don't have a signature associated with key 1, but you do have a signature associated with key 2, a signature associated with key 3, and 12960 blocks have passed. Okay, so out of the 4 possible options, you need 3 of these to be satisfied to be able to move the Bitcoin. And as always, you can press compile. That will generate a Miniscript, and it will also generate the script that ultimately gets revealed on chain if Bitcoin are moved from this address with the script encoded in that address. You can put something entirely different in this policy other than the examples provided. So I've got a couple of Bitcoin Stack Exchange questions here. Wizard Sardine have a Liana wallet that uses Miniscript. The policy that they use is this or statement, so we can pop that in here. This says that so it's an or statement, so you either need a signature associated with this primary public key, or both of these need to be satisfied. So it's an and statement. So a certain amount of blocks need to have passed, and a signature is associated with this recovery public key. So one of these 2 need to be satisfied. Either you have a signature associated with the primary public key, or you have both a signature associated with the recovery public key and a certain amount of time has passed. So to get a Miniscript to compile, you will need to put a number in here. Let's just put 100, and then press compile, and there you get your Miniscript and you get your script running it through the compiler that's used on this site. There's another Stack Exchange question here where they said they want a script that requires my key, so requires a signature associated from my key, and then they also want one signature associated with 4 other people's public keys. So how would you do that? The easiest way to do that is to produce a policy that meets what they want. And the policy that meets what they want is this. So just copy and paste it in, and then I'll explain why it does what they requested. So it's an AND statement, okay? So and both of these conditions need to be satisfied with an AND statement. You need a signature associated with public key A, and you need a threshold of these signatures of public keys to be provided. So it's a threshold of 1. So you just need one signature associated with either public key B, public key C, public key D, public key E, right? Just one signature from one of those 4 public keys. And if you get that signature from one of those 4 public keys, and you get the signature associated with public key A, then you satisfy that policy. And so it does what they requested on Bitcoin Stack Exchange, because their public key is A, so you always have to have a signature associated with public key A, otherwise the funds can't move, and then you just need one of the other 4 public keys that are present. So we've copied and pasted that policy in, you press compile, generates the Miniscript, and generates the ultimate script that gets encoded into the address that gets revealed if funds are ever removed from that address. So yeah, that is an introduction to policy, Miniscript, and script. It's a really nice, useful, easy to use tool on this bitcoin.zipper.be/Miniscript site that you can just play around with and think of all the different options and different combinations of ands and ors and thresholds and signatures or time locks and hash locks and things like this. So yeah, really cool resource, and a good first port of call for understanding what Miniscript and script are, and why people have been working on this project for a number of years.